So today we're going to be going over the first 10 builds in our A to Z Destiny series. So this was suggested by a comment that I'll put up here. Thank you so much for the idea for this. This is a great idea. And we'll be updating this list as we go forward from now on. So for number 11, you'll basically see the progress of this tier list, and then we'll just keep updating it as we go. So the intent for these builds are all PvE related, just as a reminder. So none of these are really meant to be used in PvP. However, we are still using PvP exotics because it's A to Z. So some of these are going to be a little bit worse than others. So everything's going to be kind of more in the perspective of fun and endgame. So it's going to be a little bit of a mix. I think other people might have a slight different opinion on how these builds perform in endgame content, but using them to their max potential, they're all able to be used in absolute endgames. Like you can take these into a GM. Some of them are a little bit less applicable, considering that there's different champion types and different ranges that you want to be at for given encounters. But anyways, we're just going to do this in order. So I have in the bottom here from 1 to 10, and so really starting out strong with number 1. I'm going to say that this is actually an S tier build. This build has been fantastic to use. If you haven't checked it out, it's an Abeyant Leap build, and it combines along with a stasis primary in order to create you're just decimating champions. You don't really have to worry about anything. It's giving you so much woven mail. It's able to handle every single champion type, and you can also just kind of pluck away from range while also suspending targets. It's fantastic. So I really recommend that you guys check out that one. It's the first one in the series, and it really kind of kicked everything off. But Abeyant Leap was just a great one to start with. So I also recommend that you check out, Abeyant Leap for Prismatic is also great. But I've been for this series, just a little bit of a disclaimer for the rest of this series, is that the intent was to never use the exotics that have a Prismatic counterpart on Prismatic. Because that way, if it's on the class item and everything like that, you might as well just make a build with the class item, but I wanted these to remain accessible. So if it's on the class item, that's why I've avoided putting it onto Prismatic. Anyways, moving on, we have the Verdant Storm build here, where we're using our ACD feedback fence, and this was number 2 in the series. This one, I think I'm just going to put at B tier. It really it falls off a little bit as content gets harder. You get a lot of melee charges going, and it's really fun to use, and it never really gets boring per se, but you have to just spend more of your charges for the endgame content for that, but it's always usable. You can get so much melee charges back. You're just kind of constantly throwing out all these, strand like little tiny missiles. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't tried it out in at least earlier content, I would definitely give it a whirl. It's just a fun Titan build that just really kind of carries yourself all the way up into, I would say, master level content. Up next, we have a very basic build, but something that's just super fun, very weapon reliant, is Axiom War Rig. So this one I'm actually going to put in A tier. I've used this to clear GMs all the time. The fantastic thing about it is the whole purpose of that build is to turn Axiom War Rig into a damage exotic by ensuring that it always has, that you're using killing tally and stuff like that. Because killing tally normally goes away off of a reload, and you just completely bypass that. So you just have that 35% damage bump the whole time. There's really no downside to it, and Axiom War Rig just keeps all those damage multipliers going. You can use other auto rifles along with it, but really with a heavy machine gun and how many kills you're getting, it really never felt like I was running out of heavy with it. It's a little bit of a boring build, if you will. It's not really super exciting, but if you like heavy machine guns and want to use them the whole time, then this is the build for you. I personally love heavy machine guns, so I put this thing on all the time. You can just clear GMs because you're just using basically a double damage heavy machine gun the whole time. But again, really weapon reliant, but if you get the right rolls for that, it's great. Definitely A tier. Now for our 4th build in the series, which was the Cult of Aeon, where I decided to do a build for every single class there, because everyone's got the same exotic for this one, and you could really pop on anything. So I think this one's kind of a weird one, because when you're alone, I would put this in C tier. However, when you're all using it, it's a lot better. It feels great, because suddenly you're actually synergizing with everyone, and you can really get very creative with it. But again, then you're kind of locking everyone into Aeons. So I think it would be, I'm going to put it more in the C tier, but Cult of Aeon I think is probably like low B tier when everyone's using it. But if you're alone, it's C, maybe even D. It's just really hard to get the most out of that exotic, particularly these days when there's just so many other exotics that exceed what this thing can do. But check out the video, it's a lot of fun. If you ever just want to like coordinate with your fire team, it's a lot of fun to just go through and just always kind of have ammo for everything and abilities and stuff like that. Everyone's really got a role to play. So if you're a fan of those MMOs or something like that, where you have like a tank and you have a healer and you have some guy that's a DPS, then this is really the build set for you and your fire team if you guys enjoy that type of dynamic. Now for the fourth one, I believe this is a slightly different thumbnail image because I couldn't find the original one in my files. Maybe it went somewhere. But this is the Insurmountable Skull Fort build. And this was the fifth one in our series, and it's just basically unlimited melees, and you just get so many melee charges out of it, and you're just destroying everything. And it just got better this season with all the arc stuff going on and the artifact. So I think like this one you could probably take into GMs. People are using it for speed runs, everything like that. It's definitely way up there in the S tier. You can use this in everything, and it's also great to just farm ammo with. So a lot of people are using it to in content that you can actually swap. So like master level dungeons and stuff like that. You can put on the Insurmountable Skull Fort and just absolutely destroy everything, all the ads, as well as getting your health back. And then you can swap on over to a damage exotic for your actual DPS phase. But for just general eye clear and getting through most content, it's amazing. And then up next, we have the Antaeus Wards build. I think this is going to be the only one that really ends up in the D tier, because it's just absolutely a PvP exotic. You're not really meant to use it, and even in PvP, it's just gotten so many nerfs that it's really not worth using in either anymore, in my personal opinion. You have to be so deliberate about when you decide to slide in order to get a shield, and then block and return damage into something that it's very, very difficult to get value out of, unless you're one of those people that just is perfect with timing on when an enemy is going to do something and just sending it right back at him, even though it doesn't really do all that much damage. Kind of similar to that one hunter exotic that when you block with your super will give you you'll return it back at them. But this is kind of like a single instance of that. So I tried to make a build there that used pretty much the longest slide in the game, which is the stasis slide on Titan. And it's a fun build. It's fine. I wouldn't really recommend it for anything endgame. I even used in the thumbnail in PvE for some reason, for a reason there. I wouldn't exactly suggest this build, but we're just going through all the exotics anyways, even the PvP ones. So I think that's probably one of the worst exotics to try to take into PvE. So hopefully we don't run into that scenario too many more times, because a lot of other PvP exotics at least have some utility in PvE that we can take advantage of, where this one was just very difficult to. Then we have Apotheosis Veil with number 6, and lightning turrets everywhere. You get double grenades and jolts and blinds, everything like that, and the new arc synergies that this works with. I'm going to put it in A tier. It's so much fun. You're just absolutely dominating the field with lightning. The fun thing about this is just that like you're just always chucking them out, and then you can cast your super, and right after your super ends, you just get so many more. So you're just throwing grenades. So if you're one of those warlocks that really enjoys your ability spam and you want to play on arc, this is the build for you. It's a lot of fun. Again, Apotheosis Veil is part of the prismatic set for your guys' class item, and so I avoided going on to prismatic with this. I also wanted to avoid doing a solar build with Apotheosis Veil. I felt like that one's a little bit played out. So synergizing with the arc grenade aspect, it allows you to just feel like you're always casting abilities. So you really become that lightning storm, and you're just constantly casting everything like Emperor Palpatine style. Then for the next one in our series, where it was number 8 for Arbor Warden. So Arbor Warden was an exotic that really surprised me. I really enjoyed making a build with this. it just has so much momentum now with everything that's been going on. This build in particular just really feels like you're just constantly moving forward. You kind of get like 10 feet at a time. It's also the only build that I've really found on Titan that feels like you can save your teammates. Like you see somebody about to go down and you just cast your barricade and you chuck it at them, and then suddenly they have an overshield and cover, and they can live and get through the scenario, and then you can push up with them to wherever they're at and stand behind your barricade, and you get that reduced splash damage, you get increased reload speed, and you're generating a overshield. And in PvE, you can get it back so quickly. So I think people initially thought of this one as more of a PvP exotic, but it's so much fun to use in PvE. I definitely suggest it. It's particularly great for nether content because you aren't getting much health back. So those overshields go a lot further than you might think. So I'm going to put this one all the way up in the A tier along with these these two, where it's just a lot of fun to use and just has such high utility. So I really want to put these builds up there that are really good, but also really fun to play. So you can kind of get that combo off. Then for our 9th build in the series, we had Armamentarium giving us double grenades. Again, another one that is on the prismatic class item. So I wanted to avoid doing that. So we decided to go with the Void side of things, so you can get double void grenades, and this one I'm actually going to put all the way up in S tier. It's so good getting double those grenades going. You can have constant devour, you can have constant volatile, and then you can also double up on the void wall grenades. So if you have 2 void wall grenades and you can put them under a boss that's not moving much, that's an extra 250,000 damage that you can basically plop onto a boss at any given moment, and that only goes up higher with volatile, and it also goes up higher obviously when you're doing weapon damage. So it's basically like you have a little, like your grenades basically become an extra little anarchy for you, and you can combo that with your weapons like the Monarch or something else like that, and you can just output so much damage. I definitely think it's 100% underrated. A lot of Titans I don't think understand just how much extra damage you can punch out with an extra grenade, particularly on bosses that are standing still. And then in generalized content, you get to have double vortex grenades or whatever else you prefer, which is just such a high ad clear grenade. And that will scale all the way up into endgame. It's so strong, and it feels great to use. And even with the void wall grenades in content that you can't swap out your loadout, those void wall grenades are able to clear a lot of stuff. Like if you know where enemies are spawning and you plop that in, they'll just walk out and die, proccing your devour over and over again, giving your grenades back quicker. And with the double grenade charges, you basically always have one ready. Then for our 10th build, and we'll be all caught up after this one, with our fusion grenade build for number 10, which was with Ashen Wake. So Ashen Wake is an exotic that I love. Just something about it is so satisfying to throw those grenades and just have them explode on contact. You're basically just playing baseball, and you got your grenade and just shove it in their face. And then also the fact that you use it for ad clear, you get it back even quicker. So and they just updated it so where it has unstoppable capabilities, so we only have to really spec into 2 champion types with our weapons, and then Solar also helps us out with with one of them, with Radiant. We can, our abilities then cover a anti-barrier for us. So with these you can get you can just absolutely destroy ads, so you can just use your grenade over and over and over and over again. And the whole point of this build was to combo along with our mods to make it so that we're using our armor charge to get the extra little bit back that the Ashen Wake isn't doing for us, because Ashen Wake, you need to kill I believe 5 enemies with your grenade in order to get it back. So we basically cut that down by making it so that when we use our grenade with armor charge, we only have to kill 2 or 3 enemies, which is a whole lot easier and a whole lot more consistent. And then we also create those orbs and get our armor charge right back after getting those grenade kills. So it's a really nice synergistic loop that you can take all the way into endgame because of its champion destroying capabilities. I'm gonna put it in A tier. The only reason it's not in S tier is simply because of the lack of solar stuff in the artifact right now, along with the fact that if you happen to miss completely or something like that, the build is a little bit, it relies on that loop. So you can get everything back, and solar really, along with sunspots, makes it so that you get your grenade back quickly, but it can kind of, that loop can be broken, where in those S tier builds, it just can't. You're always able to keep the momentum up. So I wanted to make sure that that in A tier is those things that are just a little bit more difficult to upkeep, or at least you might run into a couple issues if you're not using it perfectly. But this is going to be our current tier list of where we're at. This might change going forward. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree and you've watched these videos and stuff. If there's any that you haven't seen, please go and watch them, check them out. If you guys are, you're thinking that some of these builds are not nearly as good as that, you're like, hey, the B tier build should actually be D tier. All of them should be D tier. Please let me know. I'm trying to just make these builds as good as possible. Your guys' feedback is invaluable in that. There's always going to be stuff that I miss, or maybe a weapon or a roll or something like that that I don't really completely understand or see in the game. And your guys' suggestions on it have been invaluable. So thank you again for watching, and I really appreciate you guys checking this out. Again, thank you, and shout out to that comment for suggesting this, because I think it's a great idea. And so thank you again for watching, and keep on building.